Hello, everyone. This is again Laura Figures, your host for Freedom Isn't Free podcast. And today we have a wonderful guest. She is an award-winning facilitator, project manager, and author. She facilitates coaching sessions, team building sessions, career readiness workshops. This talented guest, she goes by the name of Shermaine Perry-Knights. Welcome, Shermaine. How are you?
I'm doing well, Laura. Thank you for having me.
Thank you for joining us. Thank you for spending this time. Now, Shermaine, tell us about your first published book and what was your journey like?
So I have a few published books. I have about 5 guided journals, 3 adult coloring books, a children's coloring book, and the children's picture book. My very first book, though, was a guided journal called Arise, a guided journal to help you change careers. And it's really about pivoting, how you are going to transition during this pandemic. Perhaps you realize you need a new skill, you need to learn something else in order to get the job that you want. And this is a prime time for that.
So how long have you been writing? Is this something that, you've always been doing since you were a young child? Is it something that you just picked up during the COVID time?
It's something I've always done. I love to read, I love to write, and growing up in the military, sometimes all you have is your siblings and a pen and a pencil, right? And so we would write a lot. But during COVID, I decided the time that I would be driving back and forth to the office, I was going to spend intentionally writing some books. And so my first children's book was actually born from that concept. I move a lot and that's okay. It's a children's book about military kids who have to move quite a bit and the highs and the lows of the emotions that we experience. So for me, I just decided I was actually going to use the writings that I've always done during COVID to publish. But I have so many journals filled with my own scratchings.
So you spoke a little bit about you being a military brat. Speak a little bit more about that. Tell me about your experiences and how this has shaped you to write this book.
So I was actually born into the military, and there's 4 of us, all of us born in different corners of the world at different bases, different stations. And it's all I've ever known. Growing up in the military, moving around, we moved every 2 to 3 years. And it's an experience, right? You meet different individuals. You hold on to them as long as you can. You experience a lot of up and downs together, a lot of loss, a lot of hope, new adventures, if you will. And I said, I want to talk about that because, as you know, there was never any books that represented us when we were younger. There was nothing, nobody talked about the military kid experience or the brat experience. And I said, I want to write books for kids like us growing up so they understand that this rapid change is normal. It's different, but it's very normal for the military world. And I said, you know what? Let me pull together some of my own fun stories and just talk about it, because we could all talk about the times we lived in Germany and when we were in Italy and when we were in Turkey, and just some fun things that kids go through, and just, learning a different language and trying new foods. And so when it's all you've ever known, that's what you want to write about. It's kind of low-hanging fruit.
Yeah, I definitely remember my mom got into the military when I was 11, and her first duty station was Darmstadt, Germany. And I remember us packing up, and the first time we got off the plane, I was like, what is this? Where did I just move to? I just moved to a foreign country. I left all of my, friends in the States, and it was like a very traumatic, transformation for me. But it ultimately was being like the greatest thing that could ever happen to me. Being over there for 5.5 years, I just enjoyed every moment of it. And so I definitely understand of why you would develop this book, because it definitely speaks to, a lot of us, and a lot of people don't understand that it takes a lot out of a child when you have to constantly move every 3 years, like you said. But I had the great thing of having to live in Germany for 5.5 years. So I didn't
A
have
long
to,
time.
yes. And so I didn't have to move as much, but that was definitely fun times. My mom's first duty station. So I guess, what is the most surprising thing you discovered while writing your book?
I think what surprised me the most is not the stories itself, because this is actually representative of the time that I moved from Georgia to Southern Italy. So I move a lot, and that's okay, represents that story. Of course, you change a few things, like the best friend's name is a little changed. The characters look a little different than I do. But one of the most surprising things for me was just the emotions that come back up. You have to relive that emotion to make sure you're capturing it in the way that a 7, 8, 9, or 10-year-old child will experience it. So in my mind, I was going back to when we got on the plane, when I lost this amazing stuffed animal that I really, really loved, or learning a new language, trying Italian pizza for the first time. So just experiencing those emotions again, it really surprised me, because in my mind, I went right back to being that younger child who moved. But for me, it's a little different, because I was born at one base. 6 weeks or 8 weeks later, we shipped out to another base. A few weeks after that, we moved overseas. So every year, 2, 3 years, it was a consistent change for us. So you're literally just waiting in your mind for the new station. And to try, the surprising part again is saying, okay, I know my experience. How do I make it relevant and digestible for a child in 2020? Because perhaps they're not moving from base to base. Perhaps they're moving from apartment complex to the next because their parents lost their job during the COVID response. Or perhaps they are military and like many of us, the service member passed and now they have to move again. So trying to make it relevant to more than one group was very surprising to me.
Yeah, and because this is a children's book, I definitely understand like the process of having to take yourself back to being that child in that moment. The cover of your book, tell us a little bit about that process of you coming up with that. You have children on there, you have the military dad on there. Tell us a little bit about the process that you went through.
I wanted the cover to really stand out. When you look at this book, you'll say, that's exactly what this book is about. So what you see here is the service member and the spouse. And I chose a biracial couple because in the military, on the bases, as you know, Laura, there are a lot of mixed families. And I think diversity should be celebrated. And we should be represented in books, because everyone is not of one culture. Like my family has 2 cultures, 2 races. Like this is very normal to me. So I love a child here represented between the 2. And you see some of her features represent the mom, some represent the dad. The service member is in uniform pointing at the globe. And the brat, Grace is her name, she is dreaming of the beach. Because for us, we're always dreaming of the best case scenario in the new station. Not until you get there do you realize there are some things I really don't like about this place, right? She heard Italy has beautiful beaches, so she's dreaming of the beaches. But what they also don't tell you is it has sulfur in the air that has a very interesting smell. So you get the beautiful beach, right? So you get some beautiful moments with some sad moments and some happy moments and some not so happy moments. And I said, I really want the cover to say, what in the world is she doing? And so that's kind of what I came up with.
Yeah, I love the cover with with the diverse background. I know that when my mom joined, I really didn't recognize colors as a small kid. And going into the military, I didn't recognize that because I looked at it as all as one. And I remember, me being in Darmstadt, we had so many diverse backgrounds. I mean, I know I went to school with people from all over the world, so many different backgrounds, but I didn't think of it as something as you guys being different. I always thought about us just being all of a military family, all of us together, all of us, going to school together. We weren't different. We were one and the same because all of our parents were in the military. We were all at school together. We were all stationed. We would all spend time together. But also now realizing that I'm older, that, once you go back home, you have all these cultures within your actual home, which I just love the military, just making it just so diverse for everybody to grow and understand that we're all one and we all come from the same. So when you were developing the book, like, what were some of the moments that really inspired you? Because I know that, you know, growing up and having to constantly move, what were some of the details in the book that really gave you this inspiration?
I thought of my own experience, and everyone I know is military for the most part, right? And all of us, like you said, have diverse backgrounds, and you celebrated your Filipino friends' heritage, and you celebrated your Hispanic friends' heritage, and your friends that are Indian and Asian, and whatever background, you celebrated it as if it was your own. And we were always curious and satisfied with what we learned. And that was an important theme for me throughout the book. I thought to myself, when you first get orders, so for those who don't know, military orders are like, you know, when the military tells the servicemen, you guys have to move. And so I tried to explain it to a child, saying, it's when the big boss tells a soldier what to do and you can't say no. Because that's how a child may interpret it.
Yeah.
Because they want to stay with their friends. Or on the other side of it, I said, okay, how could I explain PCS or orders in a way to say, it means I got to move again, that I got to find a new adventure. And so that was an important moment for me, a parent talking to their children and saying, we've got to move again. Here's why we have to move, and here's where we're going. So you didn't really understand all the elements, but you understood orders meant you got to go, and you typically knew where you were going. That was it. Everything else was unknown. And so I thought that was an important piece. And then the packing. When you're packing up your house, boxes everywhere, and servicemen coming in and out, speaking another language. I said, let me make sure I represent this. For us, we jumped on bubble wrap a lot.
Yes.
Because, you know, bubble wrap, so you did that too? Okay.
Yes.
So bubble wrap was a pastime, and you jumped on it as hard and as loud as you could to make as much noise just to distract your siblings. It was fun. Doing that, you know, breaking down boxes, writing your name on a box, those moments that seem very insignificant to someone outside of the military world, but to us, it was common fun. So I wanted to make sure I represented that. Or saying goodbye to your friend.
Oh, those are horrible. Oh my gosh, those moments were so horrible.
I hated that. Every time I had to say goodbye to my friends, because I just made a best friend somewhere. And a year later, we had to move. So third grade, I spent in between 3 schools in 2 different countries. True story. And this book represents when we had to move from that second school to the 3rd school overseas, right?
Wow.
And I said, oh my gosh. But you always wanted a memory book. And so I'm also getting ready to publish a memory book, because every time you move, you're putting more things in your mind, and you forget some of your friends and some of the cool adventures you had until you see them again, and it all starts coming back. That's an important moment to remember as well. So I said, how do we put this in a journal? Because you get so much. They're learning a new language, a new area, getting adjusted to new people. And then you forgot so-and-so, but she was your best friend, or he was your best friend.
Yeah, the many best friends that you get, it's like, you know, I'm so glad that we have Facebook, because I get to connect back with everyone. Because I remember my best friend, and when she left, I was just heartbroken. But we are Facebook friends. Shout out to Kiki. But yeah.
Depends on the station.
Yeah. So what do you hope your readers can take away from your book?
I want them to take away the theme of hope, of diversity being important, that representation matters within books, and most importantly, resilience. We learn this at a very young age. You want to be mentally tough. And I'm not saying in the way that you can't be soft and have your, understand all emotions, but you have to understand that there is a higher purpose for you, and that you must grow, and that you must make the best out of every situation. So I want readers to really take that away. And I saw something online, if you don't mind. It says that a child outside the military may see race, a child within the military sees diversity.
Yes.
And so I'm hoping that they will see the diversity as beautiful, as kind, as something that is welcoming. Like my mom has an accent, your mom has an accent, right? That we just see it and go, she's different, but I love that. And so something that my mom instilled in us very young, and to me, it's the theme of my life, is that the things that make us different make us special.
Yeah.
And it's important to teach people the differences in your culture so that they can celebrate it with you. And that was the true theme of this. I said, I want someone outside the military to read this book and say, you know what? They're different, that group, but I can relate to that. I can relate to moving. I can relate to losing my best friend, which is a stuffed animal in the book. I can relate to missing my bike, trying to find a new school, feeling uneasy about trying new food, the anxiety behind learning a new language and trying it out the first time. So you experience the highs and the lows through a 7-year-old named Grace in the book. But it's truly something we're all experiencing day to day. Even in my 30s, I'm experiencing different moments throughout COVID. And I want every child and reader to say, you know what? My situation is different, but that's okay. So that's okay is the theme. No matter what, find a way to be okay with that and to grow beyond the challenge.
I remember like all of the great foods that we had in Germany. And I feel so blessed that I had the opportunity to stay in Germany for most of my middle school and almost all of my high school years, because now that I am able to look back and reflect, oh my gosh, I have stories upon stories that I could share with folks of the food, of Oktoberfest, of us going shopping, us being able to travel to different countries. And I mean, literally hopping on a train and let's go to England or let's go to Paris. I mean, those opportunities are not here in the United States. So I feel very blessed that my mom joined and was able to literally, I got the lifetime of an experience that a lot of people don't have. What other experiences with you staying overseas in a foreign country that you enjoyed? Besides the food, because I know the food's awesome. The food is great.
You stole it from me because I was going to say the food. I would say the exposure to art, to science, to the geography. I mean, seeing Rome for the first time and walking through the Sistine Chapel, there is no other feeling like it. Or going to Europa Park, which I think is still in Germany, right? Europa Park. And you can experience this amazing, so it's like a theme park for all of Europe that's just in Germany. So you get to experience a little bit of each culture within the European Union in one theme park. Or seeing Six Flags Over Holland. Who knew Six Flags Over Holland was a thing? I don't know if it exists anymore, but it was amazing at the time. Disney in Paris. Who knew Disney was in Paris, right?
Exactly.
Or Disney in Shanghai. For me, it was making friends across the continents. I could go to Turkey right now and visit Surat, and see how she is and her kids and get to know everybody. We don't say goodbye. We say, I'll see you later. And when I'm in Japan, I can visit this person. And when I'm in England, I can visit that person. So the strong bonds that you form with not just the food, but with the culture, with the geography, with just the memories, everything becomes like they say, all the feels. You have all the feels of that country when you go there. And for me, home was never where I was born, because I was actually born in California. We left a couple weeks later. Home is wherever I am at the moment and where I have an experience. So when I think of another country, I say, what did I experience while I was there? What is ingrained in my memory? And if I ever have a bad day, the thing I love most about living overseas is I can go back in my mind to some of the moments that I love. Like when we had snowball fights in Darmstadt.
Yes.
Epic snowball fights. I mean, you're whitewashing someone's face in the snow.
In the snow.
I'm not going to say her name. I am so sorry now. I'm older now. But it was fun. Trying ice cream for the first time, wandering around and seeing that there's a mall inside the airport in Frankfurt. Who knew, right? Just having an experience that I wouldn't change for the world. You almost feel robbed if you didn't have the experience. And so as I make new friends here where I live in Georgia, I'm like, hey, let's take a trip next time I go home, because Europe feels like home to me.
Yes.
I want you to come with me. And a friend recently came last year when I went. I'll give you a quick story. And she said, can I bring my daughter? I said, of course. The baby's 5. And I brought her. She came. And the child loved everything about the Belgian chocolate. She loved everything we saw in Paris. She loved everything we saw in Holland. And decided she wanted, at 5, to write a book about traveling. So she wrote Peyton Goes to London. Wow. She wrote a book, a 5-year-old. I mean, she's a sharp 5-year-old.
Wow.
Started to write down some of her experiences, and her mom helped her create the book that's becoming a bestseller. Who would have thought that? So that level of experience we have overseas as military kids, the trade-off I wouldn't break. Yes, we lose a lot of people. We've lost a lot of friends that we went to high school with that joined the military. We've lost fathers and mothers who didn't come back the same when they went to war. PTSD is a real thing. But I would not trade the experiences in the way that it sparked my curiosity to learn and to grow and to expose someone else to it. I know that's a long answer, but I wouldn't change it.
No, it was a great answer. It was a great answer because it's the truth. Only, military brats, we are the only ones that probably can understand it, honestly. So let's transition. What advice would you give a new writer that's someone just starting out writing, like, the 5-year-old, she just wrote her book. What would you give a new writer? What's some advice?
For me, I try to go with the easiest things first, right? So I would say low-hanging fruit. Don't try to publish a book about something you know nothing about. I publish based off of my own experiences. I love to color, so I created some coloring books. I grew up in the military, so I write books for military brats like myself, right? I work as a learning and development professional and a career coach, so I can write books about that. So what I would tell you is write a book about something you know. If you love to cook, write a book about your love for cooking. A reader wants to feel as though they made a good investment in you and that you are sharing a piece of your life with them. So write about something that you know. And if you don't feel as though you can do that, ask yourself, what do I love to do? What's my purpose? And then write about that. Maybe you just want a journal. You can write about that.
So what are you working on currently? What are some of the projects that you have going on?
So the main character in I Move a Lot and That's Okay is a girl named Grace. I had an overwhelming response of women in the military, female soldiers, saying they want to see a book with a female soldier represented. I said, done, I can do that. Because we have many friends like yourself whose mother served in the military. So that is my next venture that's supposed to publish in January 2021. And then we have many friends that they're dual military, both mother and father, or in some cases, same-sex parents are both serving in the military. So that's the next venture as well, because I want us to be truly represented in literature. And anyone, even if you're not military, should be able to relate to the theme of moving and feeling loss and hope and finding yourself. And so I want to keep that theme rolling because I never thought I would grow to love writing children's books.
Super, super exciting. I cannot wait till those come out. I know my daughter, which, I'm not in the military. Her father is a veteran, but I hope she's able, when she reads it, she understands, what happens when, you have to up and move. I mean, currently I don't plan on moving from the good old DMV area, but if so, I think that book would also, help my child transition. So that's really exciting. Okay. So
Well, that's important. I'm glad you said that because I had a few friends that we went to school with. And when I say we, I think of all of us military brats as kind of we went together, right? Even if they went to a rival school, we technically went to school together. They've contacted me and said, hey, we're getting ready to move again, or PCS. What was the name of that book again? Because it's really hard on their kid every time they move. Of course, you adjust a couple months later, but those first couple months are really rough. And so they'll say, what's that name of that book again? And I've gotten some good feedback saying, yeah, this actually helped them. This is the one book they like to read. they feel as though someone connects with them. And many people are saying this kid looks like their kid. Is it their kid? And my response is always, yeah, it's your kid. It's whoever you think it is, right? That represents you.
Yeah. I think that, regardless, moving's hard for parents, for children. And so when you're able to identify with something, that definitely helps out, especially with children, because, everybody's lost in the sauce in this big world. And when you have a book that describes and helps you understand your feelings and what you're going through, that puts, the ease, the pain at ease for all of us, like, oh, someone understands me. So yeah, this is great. This is awesome. So where can the readers and my listeners purchase your books?
They can purchase it on Amazon. You can purchase it at Barnes and Nobles. And there's several other outlets that are picking it up. If you know someone AAFES, tell them to get my book in there. Just putting it out there. But it's called I Move a Lot, and That's Okay. You can find it on Amazon.com or Amazon. If it's another marketplace like India and UK, you can find it there as well.
Okay, great. Thank you so much, Shermaine. We're basically just coming on and speaking to us. I know that the transition in the military of a new adventure, different cultures can be a lot, but here, the book that Shermaine provided, I Move a Lot, and That's Okay, will definitely help ease some of the anxiety that kids struggle with relocating. Shermaine, do you have any more last words for my listeners?
I'm going to ask them to go ahead and get a copy, right? We have paperback, hardcover, and the ebook available. If you have Amazon Kindle Unlimited, you can download this and read it for free. So, I'm all about test it out first. Test it out, see how you love it, and then buy your copy and gift one to a friend. I will also tell you, you can follow me on Instagram and Facebook at AMAZINGLY Shermaine. So Amazingly Shermaine. You'll be able to follow my journey as an author as I produce more content. And there's a great coloring book that's also available on Amazon.
Well, thank you, Shermaine, for joining us today. I am so super excited and honored that you spent the time with me. As always, you guys, thank you for listening. Freedom isn't free. This is Laura. I'm signing out.